Hey guys, AuspiciousAussie here, and welcome to episode 48 of the San Marino Challenge. Now, today's episode is of course going to be a bit of a pre-season review. We're going to go over the massive amount of transfers we've also made. But first things first, last episode was left off on a bit of a cliffhanger. However, as you can see, I am now the manager of the San Marino national team. And as you can see, this is, I haven't actually set up the squad or anything. But I'll show you the squad. Still from the previous manager, but I've looked through it a little bit, and there are some pretty decent players. Obviously, players that we're somewhat familiar with as well. We've got probably arguably the four best. Well, we have more than the four best talents, but four of the best talents I would say in this squad currently. Benedettini's a pretty good goalkeeper. Which is good to see. He's playing for Virtus Intella in Serie B. But apart from that, a lot of the other players, they're all pretty much regens from about here. And they're not so good. We'll say that. I definitely, I will probably be the sole provider in terms of talent coming into the national team. Which is sort of expected when doing this challenge. Anyways, so that's that. Got the national team job. That's going to kick off. One last thing to mention is we are in the UEFA Nations League, and this is our group. We've got Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Latvia. So a pretty tough group, to be honest, but I mean, it's probably one of the easier groups in terms of, the teams that are actually in Europe. I mean, I can't really see us picking up any points in the group, but, you never know. You never know. In terms of recording episodes for the national team, I'm probably going to not record episodes for the Nations League. I don't think I'm going to show every game from World Cup qualifiers and European qualifiers and stuff like that. But I will show a game with that every now and then. And obviously, if we make a big tournament, I will probably, record. I might even, do like a live episode and just go through the games in terms of how they come and as we progress through the tournament. That's probably still, at least another 5 or 6 seasons away, in terms of us actually making a tournament. But anyways, let's get into the transfers first of all. And there's been a lot. There's been a lot of activity. We'll go through the outs first. As you can see, the first out, so disappointing to lose him. Mustafa Chanpalat was sold to Borussia Dortmund for 33 million. Basically, the offers were just coming in at the start of the transfer window as well, like very early on. A lot of these offers were just coming in thick and fast. And, Borussia, I tried to negotiate as much money possible, hoping that they would sort of, back out of the deal and withdraw. But then they offered a non-negotiable 33 million. And I could not say no. Just in terms of the club and the finances and stuff like that, and where that money can be reinvested, it was just too good of an opportunity. Not to mention, Chanplat, he's been a bit of a problem, especially early on in his San Marino career. But yeah, we let him go. The fans are all pretty devastated about it, which is understandable. I'm pretty devastated about it as well. The next player let go was Ambro. Pretty much didn't play last season, so we sold him for 350k to Vancouver Whitecaps. Che Nunnally was the next player. Similar sort of player to Ambro. Didn't really play last season. He was sort of third choice in the pecking order. We sold him for 475k, possibly going up to 600k to FC Twente. We then sold Pesci, the Italian centre-back, to Kaiserslautern for 475k. So they're all pretty low transfers, but, it was just to get a little bit of money back and send these guys sort of on their way. We then sold Sedef, who was he's the Turkish player that I signed from the Arsenal FC USA youth team. Very weird. But yeah, we sold him for £525 to New York Red Bulls. Very low fee. I just wanted to get him out of the club. He actually took our non-EU spot which I was really pissed off about. There does say something about selling players and being able to bring in another player. However, when I sold him, I didn't really see any indication that I could bring in another non-EU player. Anyways, we then let Diakangelo go out on loan to Navarra. Pretty good loan move. We brought in another 2 centre-backs, possibly 3 centre-backs, as one of the players can sort of play there as well. So I thought getting him, some more game time, Serie B, I think was a pretty decent move. We then, this is where it gets a little bit frustrating, because I sold Chanpalat and I was like, okay, well we've got Shokri. Shokri's like a wonder kid, possibly a world-class player in the future. And then RB Leipzig activate his £26.5 million release clause. And he's now at RB Leipzig. So yeah, pretty disappointing, but we did replace both of these players. So essentially we got a new starting striker, and we also have a new backup youth prospect, highly rated striker to be on the bench as well. We then let Antonucci go out on loan to Pro Vercelli. As you can see, never really going to do anything. I kind of just signed him because he was available, and I thought, why not? We then let Fischetto, of course, one of the Italian youth prospects coming through our academy. He went to Bologna for a free transfer. Just his contract was running out. I thought I may as well just get rid of him. And the offers for 0 were coming in. We then let Stefano Leo go out on loan to FC Crotone in Serie B. Again, sort of just wanted to make sure that he was getting some game time, despite not being able to start in the first team. And the final player let go out on loan was Rogers Sunzu, who went out on loan to Foggia Calcio. As you can see, a lot of transfers out, but there were a lot of transfers in as well. The first of which was Squizzato from Atalanta on a free transfer. Very solid 23-year-old Italian centre-back. Basically, just really solid defensively. Good positioning, good physicals. Not really a ball-playing defender, but he's left-footed, and I thought he's a little bit of an upgrade on players like Leo, and of course, Leo, I don't really want to say it, but Veta, he really hasn't performed, so I kind of thought that we needed to get some new centre-backs in. The next player, some of you might be, I'm very familiar with, and some of you might be familiar with, is Peru Nascloane. Yeah. Still have no idea how to pronounce his name. He came from Athletic Bilbao. Of course, my previous series on the channel was with Bilbao. And he was a pretty integral part to my Bilbao team, quite often starting games. Defensive midfielder, can play centre mid as well. Just good backup, honestly. 27 years old, not really, going to develop, but I think he's solid enough to be that backup and sort of strengthen the midfield overall. The next player brought in was Alessandro Formato from Juventus. Pretty solid left winger. He's on 25k per week, which is a big wage, but he's got really good pace and he's pretty good going forward. Can also play left back if we're sort of desperate. But overall, free transfer from Juventus. I think pretty solid signing. The next player is Mattia Viviani from AC Milan. Basically, a really solid central midfielder. Definitely going to be a starter for us. That's pretty evident. I think he's a bit of an upgrade on both Cizek and Sabanda. Excuse me. Yeah, so 22.5k as well for him. Sort of putting out, somewhat decent wages now, which I'm a little bit upset about. But then, if you look at the finances, I think we have 98 million in the bank. Speaking of wages, the next player, William Longello, signed from Inter Milan on a free transfer. Basically, the new striker to replace Chanpalat, 70k per week contract, which is pretty massive. But as you can see, he's quite good, the 22-year-old Frenchman. Then we also signed Antonucci, as I mentioned, on a free transfer from Lazio. I just saw him and I thought, why not? At this stage, I hadn't signed another left back, so I was like, okay, well, Gilles might need some cover. But yeah, as I'll go through these other transfers, we found a pretty good left back. The other player I brought in was Martinez from Athletic Bilbao as well, for 475k. This one sort of just popped up, and I looked at his stats and I thought, okay, well, he's pretty good, especially at 22. Solid enough defensive midfielder. Not exactly what we want in terms of a deep line playmaker, but I brought him in anyway because, 475k is a bit of a bargain. He's already valued at 1 million, so I think there's definitely some resale value to him. The next player, some of you will be very familiar with, of course, previously in the series, Paolo Novi was at the club, and I think I mentioned him last episode. But yeah, he has made his triumphant return to San Marino Calcio. What was it? 6.5 million from Empoli. Basically, he was one of the reasons why Empoli did so well last season. He was really solid for them in midfield. And they, of course, made Europa League, almost stole our Champions League spot. So yeah, really good signing. He'll probably be starting ahead of Toscano in the defensive midfield position. The next player brought in was Nicolo Armini, another really solid centre-back. As you can see, really good physicals. In terms of a ball-playing defender, he's pretty good as well. He looks good enough in that regard. Again, a pretty big wage, 22k per week. And he was brought in from Lazio for 3.6 million. Now, this next transfer is the left-back I was talking about previously. Zoran Nesic from Partizan for 1.5 mil, which was his release clause. As you can see, 3-star current ability left back, 18 years old, already got 2 caps for the Serbian national team, and he's also got a 4-star potential. On a pretty big wage already at 18, he's on 9.5k per week. But overall, I think he's definitely going to be a proper quality left back, going into the future. And I think I'm probably going to start him. Well, today I think I'm going to start him over Gilles in the left back position. The next player brought in was Camille Gora from FC Cologne. 17-year-old German. Again, he's a defensive midfielder. We brought in a lot of midfielders this season. But basically, I see him as a pretty exciting youth prospect. 3.5-star potential, but if you look at his stats already, they're all pretty good. They're all solid enough over the board. And of course, he's a natural deep line playmaker in the defensive midfield position. So good for him. He's on a rotation contract, which means he's probably going to cause a bit of problems back, behind the scenes. We put him in the under-20s because obviously we don't really have the room for him in the first team. We've just got an abundance of central midfielders. The next player brought in was Evan Marino on a free transfer. Just a backup goalkeeper. I want to keep Mantova in the under-20s, getting game time, because he has been developing pretty well. And he's sort of nearly at the age where he could come into the first team. So we'll just have to wait and see in terms of that. And the final player brought in is the backup striker, Nick Daum. Yeah, I'll have to clarify the pronunciation there. But yeah, we signed him from RB Leipzig, of course. They stole Shockery from us with the release clause. So I went in and signed their best youth striker prospect for £4 million. 17-year-old, 16k per week wages, which is crazy. But as you can see, he's pretty talented, especially at 17 years old. Similar player to Champlat, can play left midfield or left wing as well. And as you can see, very pacey, very strong, and very good dribbler of the ball as well. So yeah, that's the transfers. As you can see, it was quite a bit to get through. So I do appreciate you that are still watching. We'll quickly go over the preseason fixtures here. Not too much to really talk about. The first game was a 4-0 victory over Torino. We then managed to beat Napoli 2-0 at home. We then beat Santa Cangelo 2-0 away from home. We then managed a 1-1 draw against Sevilla, and finally a 0-0 draw. A pretty disappointing draw against AC Siena, who I believe are a Lega Pro team. Anyways, today's opponents is Bologna, and as you can see, I'll show you the finances here. 98.7 million, and as you can see, well, this season's projection is 102 million, but apparently we're going to start losing money, which I don't really see. Although the wages could be... Yeah, we're spending a lot on wages now, let's say that. As you can see, well, the wage budget is 860,000, and we're only spending about just over 500,000 of that. But we're not bringing in enough money from stuff like matchday revenue. Probably not until our new stadium is built, which is going to be at the end of this season. So, really exciting to see that. It's pretty unfortunate, but I don't think it's going to be the national team stadium. I might be wrong, but I think they'll still play in the San Marino Stadium, which only has a 5.5k capacity. Anyways, let's get into today's lineup. Going to go with it's a bit of a changed team. I mean, we've got a lot of new faces. In goals, Ingvarsen, the stalwart in goals. At right back today, we're going to go with Conforti, Armeni and Squizzato, the two new centre-backs, are both going to be starting today and partnering each other, as well as Nesic, as I mentioned previously, going to be starting today over Gil. Novi, also another debutant, starting as our deep line. Well, he's not a debutant because he's already played at the club, but, the returning debut of Novi as the defensive midfielder. Renault is going to be on the right wing. Formato, of course, the new left winger from Juventus, will start on the left wing. Viviani, centre midfielder from AC Milan, and he'll be partnered by Cizek in the centre of midfield. And then, of course, up front, Longello replaces Chanpalat. Looking for a big goal return from him. He was the top goal scorer again last season. So the fact that we sold him it's a little bit scary. It is a little bit scary, but I think Longello, if we look at his attributes, he is essentially the same, more or less. I think he's, I don't know. Essentially, they're both rated the same amount in terms of current ability. But we'll just have to wait and see. Anyways, today's bench is going to be Marino, Veta, Gil, Sabanda, Forte, Vitek, Dolm, Van Gelderen, Nolascoin, Toscano, and Todorov. And apparently we have no captain because Gil and Toscano are both on the bench. So that's going to be interesting. I'm just going to tell the boys I'm expecting them to win today. We really haven't started seasons too well in Serie A since we got promoted from Serie B. But it's going to be an interesting game. That's for sure. Nothing's really happening, to be honest. We do have a corner. Cizek fires it in. Longello gets in there. Debut goal. And that's exactly what we want from our starting striker. First game, 17 minutes in. Nice little cheeky header off the corner. And it looks like we're playing well. I feel like we have... Well, in some ways we've upgraded. In some ways, obviously, we've downgraded. As Armeni picks up his first of many, many yellow cards as a San Marino player. Yeah, I feel like we've upgraded, especially in midfield. Like, we have strengthened the midfield, I think, like, at least 2 or 3 times what it was. Especially in terms of depth. We have a lot of depth. Conforti, can he score? No, he can't. Yes, he can. Off the rebound. Get in there. 2-0 as we're approaching halftime. Yeah, like I said, I feel like our depth has gotten a lot better in every position except for striker. Obviously, we lost 2 arguably possible world-class players in Chanpalat and Shokri. We replaced, obviously, one of them with Longello, who is, a similar mould, similar type player, a real top-class striker. But then in terms of signing Dolm, it's a little bit of a risk. I think he's going to be good enough. Don't get me wrong. We're going to make a sub here, actually. We might do this because we need to tell Renault to ease off tackles. What else are we going to do? Who are we going to bring off? That's the question. I mean, the defense is playing really well. Squizzato and Nesic both solid over 7 ratings. I guess Viviani could come off. We'll bring Sabanda on. Apart from that, I don't really... Yeah, I guess Longello can come off. We'll give him a rest. And we'll bring Dom on. Dom's not match fit at the moment, so... Obviously, that's something we have to sort of build up. But it's really good to see that we've had 11 shots with 9 on target. Because last season, we were really, really struggling to get our shots on target. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I'm pretty happy with, overall. I mean, all the debutants today and the way they've played. I don't know. It's kind of inspiring, to be honest. I mean, I'm really happy with this, performance. And like I mentioned, Cizek, can he shoot? Yes, he can. Nice little assist there for Sabanda as well. Really good to see. I think the football team, the club team, I should say, not the football team. The club team of San Marino is, I think we're in good stead now. We've got the finances, the facilities are being upgraded, we've got a new stadium, all these different things are happening. And of course, I've just taken over as the national team manager. The next sort of, up until we win Serie A, I'm not really going to, that was a really weird goal. But Formato gets on the score sheet as well. Dom with the assist. And yes, we will keep the changes. Yeah, I don't know. It's a really weird position to be in because obviously now I'm the national team manager. I want to be, giving game time to those really good youth prospects we have in the under 18s and under 20s. But I don't really want to risk us in the league, if that makes sense, because I want to win Serie A. I want to win every competition, maybe apart from the Europa League, because I feel like we've surpassed that. And I think, obviously winning the Champions League is a big goal of mine for the series. And I think it's possible, definitely possible. I mean, anything's possible, but yeah, winning Serie A, winning the TIM Cup, the Super Coppa, all those sort of domestic trophies are what I want to win within the next few seasons. And sort of what I'm aiming to win, albeit we're going to still try and, focus on the national team a little bit because, the team's not so great. We'll say that right now. Yeah, there we go, guys. A nice little 4-0 victory to kick the season off. All the new boys playing well. Cizek, man of the match. Really good to see because, yeah, he was pretty dreadful last season, if I'm being honest. And, yeah, as you can see, we had what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 debutants in the last game. And we managed to win the game 4-0. So, good to see. And apparently, Longello has been in a goal drought. 12 matches before this one, while he was at Inter. It's pretty interesting. Comes to our club and gets a goal on debut. Hopefully a good... that's a little bit worrying that he went 12 games without scoring, but, it's positive that he's scored for us already. So, yeah. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you could give the video a like, that'd be much appreciated. Subscribe as well if you haven't already. And apart from that, take it easy and goodbye.